Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday Recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And while it looks like a lot of players gathered in Minmatar space last week, I spent most of my time in the Mars space doing some exploration, doing so in the Ishtar, also in the buffed Enforcer. That's become a very nice combat exploration ship, to be honest. Nice missile drone combination, and of course it's also covered up, Tech 2, so very nice ship to get back into and to do some exploration with. Next to that, I also of course did my regular PI stuff, my blueprint copy business. We're keeping an eye on things. I must say that the capital ship market for combat ships, carriers and things like that is not doing well. Those BPCs are actually lapsing at this point. Some of them just can't get rid of a Thanatos BPC pretty much at any price, so that's not good news. For the structures though, those are selling very well at pretty high prices. So there's definitely still some stuff that sells in the BPCs, but the market in general does seem to be cooling, and then especially with the large capital combat ships, that really does seem to have known a pretty serious slump. On the PI front, well, good news for the PI materials tied to fuels. So I do produce coolants on a couple of gas planets, for instance, and some mechanical parts as well. Mechanical parts are still lagging behind, but coolants way up again. Those are recovering decently well, and you're getting a below average price, but at least it's close to the normal historical average. So I'm okay with selling coolants at the moment. A lot of the other stuff though, very much under pressure at the moment, so we're still hoarding massive amounts of those. But yeah, half my planets I can pretty much go back out there, produce stuff, and then sell it to get some liquid ISK. I did not go back to Cheetah on a daily basis in order to do some active trading, so there I'm mostly just holding the Tech 2 ships that I have at the moment, which I think I bought at a pretty cheap price, but we are also starting to see volatility drop there a little bit. Mostly I think the summer slump is starting to also affect the Tech 2 market. Demand is pretty clearly dropping for a lot of these ships, and so I'm actually going to start looking for even more buy opportunities. I think the stealth bombers, for instance, are starting to look pretty interesting. If we could get a little bit more supply and no new demand, then we probably will have some very nice buy opportunities there as well. Of course, I found that out by doing Eve Talk, and then in the later half of the week I actually went back to Galente space a little bit, did a little bit of mining in the Orca. It's still not very efficient because there's no free local place where I can do compression at this point, but we're hoarding all of that stuff. Eventually I will find a place, maybe I'll even do like a transport run or something like that to compress all of that stuff so that we are ready. At the moment though, I'm not selling, I'm just compressing all the ores. I think that's the best if you want to have a good option for trading it later down the line. But there, same story, summer slump is clearly crushing demand. A lot of the minerals are under pressure, almost all of them. The exceptions are Morphite, that's nullsec Tech 2 related, of course, and then we also have Isogen, which is slowly, in my opinion, really going through the old reserves. And once we get into the active supply demand situation there, it'll be low sec dependent, and that means definitely higher prices in my opinion. So looking forward to that, something that I've been predicting for a very long time, but it really looks like it's happening because Isogen actually stays above 60 ISK, while a lot of the others are clearly under pressure at the moment. So the mineral market, not that great to be selling actively at the moment. You could consider titanium, for instance. I don't expect that to bounce back to 6-7 ISK because of the changes that happened there, but all of the others, I'm mostly tending to just hoard stuff, and so I go for the compressed ores at the moment. Also did a tiny little bit of exploration in a Galente space, and to my surprise got some really good drops from that. So this has really been the difference to me between a Mars space and Galente space. In a Mars space, way less competition, I find a lot more sites, but in Galente space, while I also see more competition there, I also tend to get way better drops. So a lot of BPCs that drop from the 3 out of 10, for instance, and then the battleship in the 4 out of 10, just quite often dropping 3-4 faction pieces, and then chances go up, of course, for a pretty nice one, a rep or something like that. So overall, a mixed experience, I would say. They're pretty much equivalent in the long term. Just means that I can spend more time in a Mars space, finding stuff, actively doing things. In Galente space, it's a little bit faster. You gotta be a little bit more lucky, but then if you get that luck, then it's very, very efficient, of course, and you can make a lot of ISK in not a lot of time. Mostly still doing the Ishtar all in one, definitely trying to do a run on that from time to time as well for the extra data sites. And this is also something that maybe has changed, maybe CCP tweaked that a little bit, but I am getting a lot more drops for the new industry stuff there, so that's very nice as well. Sometimes, I mean, you still need to get lucky, of course, but once you find one of those, 10 million from a data site really doesn't take long. There's next to no risk in data sites. Very, very nice. And so an all-in-one Ishtar does definitely help on that front as well. And overall, that's what I've been doing in EVE Online. I personally feel like while a lot of players are taking breaks, maybe even quitting the game, and while we're in this summer slump, the efforts that you put into the game now does give you a nice head start once, hype comes back, CCP announces something cool, right? You're still in the game, you're ready, you can make plans, and then you can try to maybe find a roadmap towards whatever it is that CCP is working on and that they may announce on that front as well. So that's my perspective there. Definitely a bit of a holding pattern, but I'm playing the game every single day and I'm definitely having fun exploring around, getting some ISK, doing a little bit of trade, and making sure that everything else, BPCs, PI, all of that stuff is up and running and is nicely balanced. So looking forward to whatever CCP announces next. But for next, there is definitely something else that I quickly want to mention. That is that next week there should be a new league that starts for Path of Exile. Looks decently interesting on the league front. I'm mostly interested in the game changes themselves. A lot of new gems and new abilities, including one for Necro, which could be interesting. Although I think for my first character, I'm probably going to go with Slam Totems. That looks really, really overpowered, very interesting potentially. So probably going to go Hero Pants. That's like a set of passive skills that I know about, and I'm gonna give that a try. And then I'm honestly kind of interested in seeing how the nerfs affect the game, because I've never been one to like follow a guide or to really try to completely min-max my character so that we can just blast through endgame or anything like that. I actually usually get stuck at like maps tier 4, 5, stuff like that. Once we get towards the red maps especially, I just tend to not have a character that's really capable of doing that. But if they get rid of the flask spam, which I never partake in, I'm just too lazy for that type of a playstyle, that should be helping me, I think. And then the nerfs in general, I mean, I love playing Necro, and that's always been a pretty powerful option. So overall, I would say that there's still definitely options for me to go through the Path of Exile experience. And so I'm kind of looking forward to the changes for Path of Exile and playing the next league. Especially what I love is the idea of having these automatic flasks where you use an item and then they'll have like a set of situations that need to be met. For instance, activate when the flask is full, kind of like that for the speed flask, and others perhaps when you're frozen, then you can get rid of your freezing, stuff like that. Sounds pretty interesting to me, and I'm definitely going to explore that to see if I can have some fun with some automatic flask setups for my characters. And yeah, that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.